She killed him. I cleaned up. If we take the body into the woods...
What are you talking about?
We have to protect her. Do you hear it?
Hey everyone, welcome back to another breakdown of Castle Rock. Greg and Ryan here to break down episode 8, Past Perfect.
Now there are spoilers ahead. If you have not watched episode 8, go watch it and get your butt back here.
But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button where we got you covered for comic deep dives, TV breakdowns, and movie reviews. Okay, right off the bat, another strong episode. I mean, hey, if you wanted your slasher horror fix, you got it in this episode, finally. With that said, it wasn't perfect, because how can you be after what happened last week with the masterpiece of Ruth and everything going on there?
Last week's episode was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't think this was a bad follow-up though. Like, if you didn't have last week's episode, this would still be an exciting follow-up to the one before it.
We'd probably say this is the best episode.
Henry goes into the filter and then all this stuff happens, you'd be like, yeah, this is good.
You know what I just can't forget? That you fucked my wife.
With the opening and the focus on Gordon and Lilith, who were summarily removed from the season almost as quickly as they arrived, this did feel a little Monster of the Week to me. But, I mean, it's a good Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
And I would be happy to have more like this. Like, if it was an ongoing sort of thing to just bring, like, here's the latest Castle Rock murderer that is in this episode, totally fine. I love the historic murder house with the mannequins. That's great.
Their B&B, yeah.
And in the first, like, after she finds him having murdered their guests, the next, like, shot, going down the hallway with his back to the camera and he's got the trash bags on and you just hear the sound of sawing. That was delightful. I thought that was just great, just gory without having to see it, horror, and it nailed it for me.
I wish there were more episodes now. I wish it didn't stop at 10. I wish there were more like this, where you can like, oh hey, remember this character from episode 3 or something? Well, he's back and he's killing everyone. I love that.
I honestly don't think I've ever said that I wanted filler in a television series, but this is some good stuff.
They're really good at this.
You know, they can do more of this if they want to. Now, I do also have to walk back something. I made a prediction based on references and Easter eggs about like 5 episodes back when they first appeared.
Oh no.
Which was that I thought maybe Gordon was Gordy LaChance from The Body / Stand By Me. And that is, I mean,
it's running. Could
that's
be
wrong at this point. I think. Well, the reason I thought that was because we saw those production photos from the town where they were shooting the show, and there was a LaChance Books, and I thought, okay, maybe that's later in the season. They move into the house. He opens a bookstore. I thought that was going to be the progression. Totally wrong on that, and I'm totally wrong most of the time, so that's not that big of a deal.
This episode was directed by Anna Lily Amirpour, known for her film A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, The Bad Batch, and recently directed 1 episode of Legion. Back to the opening, I love that they transformed Warden Lacey's house into a B&B. Now that website on the giant plaque out front, it does not work yet. Tried it, doesn't work.
So it's not the Search for the Zone fan trove of stuff to pull apart yet?
I thought it could be. I was hoping. Nothing yet.
That would have been cool. You know, what I like about it too is that, Jackie comes in and is like, I had this idea like a few years ago, make the theme park for Castle Rock. And what's kind of cool about that too is that maybe this wasn't Molly's agenda, but she's trying to sort of like update the town, make it an attraction, and this fits right into her agenda.
Season 2. And vampires.
And vampires.
So two things there. One, I love that Gordon wasn't the one that killed his wife. That was a misdirection. I love that. Right from the opening, you're thinking, when he has his hands on the wheel, you're like, oh shit, she's a goner.
The white knuckle. He's daydreaming about beating to death the man who slept with her.
I'm like, prayers to you, girl. I don't know what's gonna happen to you in the next 5 minutes. I thought she was a goner. And then they put up the portraits of the kid all over the house. I'm just like, in a smile on my face, like,
one step at a time.
Here it comes.
And he's also working on all the mannequin installations throughout the house, and you're like, what is he doing?
Yes, and then the pan out of the mannequin with the axe through the head. I'm thinking, okay, all right, she's dead. Any second now.
Any second.
Any second, and then they get a phone call.
Right, they have guests coming to their bed and breakfast, which maybe that avoided the murder. But we
Probably.
then are treated to just a wonderfully uncomfortable dialogue scene with the couple sitting on the couch next to the mannequin.
How long have you been married?
13 years.
So two for me.
And I love that they think they've got, some people who are like into their thing. Mm-hmm. They totally don't. And he's nerding all over them with his fascination with the macabre, and they're like, well, he just wanted to stay here.
Whoa, dude.
And they just want to get there and get their thing on, away from wherever.
Peace out right after it. And then basically you have the kid watching in every scene all the bloodshed. I love that.
Right. Everything is happening under the kid's watchful eye.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a supernatural universe.
Okay, next up, Molly saves Henry, but skip that. We knew that was gonna happen. Right after that, we found out that Odin got Halloraned. That's what I'm gonna call it now.
I mean, hold on a second. Halloran is walking through the front door and getting axed. But I'll give this to you. I'll give it to you.
Now, there are two people that we think probably could have done this. It could have been Molly right before she saved Henry. Unlikely. And our other suspect here, it has to be our good friend Willie.
I'm going with Willie on this. Willie was not into having his eardrums destroyed. He was every time he was translating that, he looked really like not having it.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and just say that maybe, Willie didn't want to have a rod jammed into his ear.
That seems almost too simple, like kind of some misdirection. Willie...
Yeah, they could have showed that.
Willie's somewhere else. Willie's, I don't know, he's in the basement at the church or something. Like he's, like, I think that...
There's a third.
There's
third option here.
The kid gets around, Pangborn's dead body, the dog.
Yeah, again, you got the little kid Henry, because we saw him now in a flashback, which we'll talk about later. Wendell too. Hey, you got Wendell. But for right now, I'm looking at you, Willie.
Quick side note to Odin's death, relating to his name. The Norse god Odin has one eye, and Odin has one eye now.
R.I.P. Odin.
I will remember you.
And finally, let's get to the meat of this episode, which involves Henry going into Warden Lacey's house to finally discover what's going on in that basement. And we get some clues here, what's going on with this kid. Hopefully, I think we got some clues here. And one of them was that weird portrait of the kid. He discovers that, okay, the warden, he signed and dated all of his portraits. And one of them happens to be 1991, and it cuts to a quick shot of the kid, the missing portrait for the kid, of young Henry Deaver in the same outfit. So, can we say that this kid may actually be literally the 1991 Henry Deaver child?
How do you know all of this?
I was there.
And we always say that we thought it was Matthew Deaver. It could be, but also the clues are piling up that it could be Henry.
Definitely gives some credence to the idea that a lot of people have had that the kid is something of like a blank slate.
He can be whoever he wants.
You know, he can maybe be different people. A lot of people have said that he's a reflection of the terrible things that are inside people. You know, that it's not that he's causing them to murder, he's just bringing that out of them. And that, you know, that kind of contributes to that a little bit.
Yeah. Now, a few clues to why the kid may be Henry from 91 is, if you go back, I think, to the 5th episode, there's a scene where, again, the kid's playing piano and he says, "I remember." Now, the song that kid's playing on the piano is the hymn, "Oh God, Our Help in Ages Past." Now, that very same hymn comes up again in episode 7 when Reverend Deaver instructs his congregation to play it.
Hymn 114. Oh God, our help in ages past.
And who happens to be there? Little Henry. I feel like we should have taken the kid a little bit more literal when he says to the new warden, when she asks him, "What's your name?" And he says straight up, "Henry Deaver."
Henry Deaver.
Yeah. I mean, that's
He's like, I'm Henry Deaver. I'm the
what
kid.
it's looking like right now.
Yeah.
The misdirection there was Lacey saying, "Tell them ask for Henry Deaver." He was just saying like, "No, I'm Henry Deaver. I'm totally Henry Deaver."
Mm-hmm. And we got to talk about those flash frames again. When Henry was inside of the box, the filter.
Right. Those are either sort of his flashbacks or her picking up on him.
Yeah.
Flashbacks.
You got tiny shots of someone walking down the stairs, and it looks like that person walking down the stairs is we're still gonna call him the kid, not Pennywise for now until they give him a name whenever that's revealed. Whoever that guy is who screams no, I can't pick up for the life of me the context of what's going on. We're gonna have to get more on this. But the outfit itself reminded me of something a Desjardins would probably
Definitely
wear.
a bit of the Desjardins look.
Yeah.
You know, the button collar.
That's all I got.
That's about it. And I think also that, you know, his exploration into Lacey's basement is sort of there to put that to bed. Mm-hmm. That he was in Lacey's basement. I think, you know.
So you think it's Lacey's basement?
I think it's not. Like, I
Okay.
think that, you know, that's the point of that exploration. Like, they set us up a long time ago with that locked door. And then when we finally get there, nah.
Again, back to the basements. Desjardins. We didn't go in that basement. And I know he's coming back into this story somehow.
That, I have to agree with that. You know, it seems like for all of the misdirection that the show does, it seems weird that he was like a single point of misdirection.
Yeah.
You know, Henry almost goes into that basement. I think that we've been expecting the Warden Lacey basement to be the one, and it's gotta then be sort of like Desjardins, or I think there's a strong contender for Molly. We do end the episode in her house. Granted, that's her childhood home, but it could be, she could be more sort of sinisterly tied to that relationship. We don't quite know enough about her parents. I know that we're getting thin on episodes, but
that's why I want
there's
more.
room here. And that's the thing, is that at the end there, when the kid is talking to her, you know, he says that Henry's not ready. And he's sort of turning to her. Like, I think there's definitely more. They've shied away from including her in a lot of elements of the show for the last few episodes, and then she kind of is a bigger presence in this episode. So I'd be sort of leaning maybe Molly basement.
Yeah.
You know, we're wrestling with a lot of like binary possibilities of like, it's either this person who's evil or this person who's that person, or
We have
these types of things.
no idea yet.
And at the end of the day, I don't think we'll be altogether that surprised by those answers. But I think that one of the things that this episode made me feel like was that the journey to that is pretty exciting. I mean,
it has some guts. It can go other directions
there was
and
a
still come back.
body count this week.
Yes.
The police had to have a run-in with Henry twice in one episode going, "What is with you and dead people?"
Again, they're pointing the little breadcrumbs towards Henry, saying he's it, he's the guy, he's the devil, he's actually the one. We don't know yet, but he's certainly f***ing cursed.
Speaking of being cursed, Wendell hears the schisma.
Yes. We can't forget, Wendell now hears it too.
He had just gotten on the bus.
He was so
getting
close.
out of here.
He was so close.
Got the bird hits the bus.
So close to leaving.
A little creepy. But he was almost out. And when he was taking Wendell to the bus, I was actually thinking, I was like, really? we just brought him in just to get him back out? No, definitely not.
Also, side note, I love the music, the score that was played during the last 10 minutes.
Weird, creepy music that ran for the last 10 minutes.
Just looping.
Yeah,
I loved it right when just the chaos ensues. It kicks in. I love that. And now for a few things we noticed, references, details.
A lot of actually little details in this episode.
One of which happens to be, again, Jackie Torrance. She's back, and she brought with her some more Shining references we can talk about today.
Wait, what?
I loved it.
She's a Shining reference?
Yes, she is.
Get out of here.
Yes, her last name is Torrance.
Actually, you know what? I have to say that as much as I've been sort of an opponent of the use of her Shining reference, I do think the scene with her talking to Gordon and Lilith was actually really good.
That's my favorite scene of the episode.
Like, she knows her axes. She's the townie with Moxie. She's going in there just to get some work. She's like, oh, let's make a deal. You're gonna have guests. I got a taxi. And oh, by the way, I know a lot about the history. You need a docent. And she's
Levy's been
freaking
awesome.
good. I think she's great.
Now, while it's a direct homage to The Shining with the axe, Jackie also, she points out that is not the same axe.
That is a felling axe? That's not a fire axe.
And now for my favorite Easter egg reference, and I hope they go somewhere with this one. I'm gonna be screaming about it every single week from here until season 2. Wendell gets off the damn bus at Jerusalem's Lot.
Now, Jerusalem's Lot shortens into Salem's Lot, which was Stephen King's second published novel from 1975. And it was also made twice into made-for-TV movies.
In the 70s and in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now, Jerusalem's Lot has been mentioned in a ton of Stephen King's work. We're talking The Dead Zone, The Body, and The Shining. And the town's just filled to the brim with paranormal activity. And all I can think is when Wendell got off of that bus, I'm like, dude, you are screwed. You gotta run. I just hope he hightails it out of there before he gets caught with a vampire.
Got a 24-mile hike to Castle Rock, and it might end up as a vampire in the process.
Please, I know the season's already wrapped, but if they can somehow sneak this into the next season, where like Wendell gets into the town,
shows up, he's like, oh, I'm on my neck.
I don't know, just sunlight's hurting right now.
Got a bit of a sore neck.
I don't remember what happened.
The bat, I know I felt it bite me, but look, there's no mark. I feel so tingly, so strangely powerful.
Also, I love this meta touch they have to it with the director, Anna Lily Amirpour, who also directed A Girl Walks Home at Night, which is about vampires, and you just have Wendell walking alone at night in Jerusalem's Lot. What's the worst that could happen?
Something I noticed this episode, might have missed it before, but when Henry gets the call from the Reverend to tell him that Ruth is at the church and then that she took off, he's Reverend Appleton, and the Appleton family is from Chester, Maine in the Stephen King stories, which was the location for Under the Dome. And that's pretty cool. Kind of also makes me hope that with that reference and the actually seeing Jerusalem's Lot, that maybe Castle Rock series is going to have a little bit more of these sort of satellite towns of Castle Rock, like Derry, included throughout the show. Talking about the town of Castle Rock, Gordon mentions that Castle Rock is the murder capital of 1991, which is a reference to Needful Things. We've seen 1991 throughout this show, but it being a murder capital comes from Needful Things, where Leland Gaunt turned the entire town into a murderous group of crazy people. Now let's get into our final thoughts and questions following this episode, what we think is coming up here, what the kind of conclusion looks like, right? Because we are down to the last 2 after this.
Yes.
What I want to know is who's going to kill Molly? My favorite character
Me too.
in the series. Who's going to kill Molly? We've seen her on the ground, kind of bloody, out in the woods. The episode ends with her with the kid. He's creepy, but I don't know. I think even money.
Maybe she survives.
We're going with Henry Deaver, right?
Yes, I'm going with Henry.
And I'm sorry, not a kid as Henry Deaver here. We're talking Henry Deaver.
The reason we say this is because go back to that mock trial with the kids.
Wounds on the body were deep and red, so we believe the murderer was someone she knew.
Could it have been someone in her family?
Maybe. You can't test the blood for that. Maybe it was her best friend.
Now this could be Jackie, but again,
Jackie has demonstrated the
my eyes
in the bladed arts.
Yes, but my eyes are on Henry right now for everything that's happening with his character and how they're slowly having us change our course and what we think Henry's up to here. But at the same time, the actual shot of the murder weapon, I assume is the murder weapon, the bloody knife, and the body next to it doesn't look like it would be Henry or Jackie. So we don't know just yet what's going on here. There's some misdirections.
Okay. Last question. Is the town gonna go full on Needful Things crazy?
Anarchy.
I think, look.
It looks like it's going that way.
It looked like when the kid got out of prison and he went to the house with the family. Now we've talked about that being a flashback. We've talked about different interpretations of that. But I remember when he stepped outside, I thought, man, he's gonna walk down the street and the whole town's gonna just start killing each other behind him in his path.
Yes.
And with this episode, with all of the bloodshed that we had, I think there's a good chance we're going that way.
Yeah, and it's going to be Henry, not the kid.
With, like Needful Things. It's gonna come down to like 2 people running at each other on the bridge and like maybe catching themselves going, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing? All right, last up, just some comments from you in the audience from the last video. Ricardo on YouTube writes, I'll take it back. Ruth is a time traveler. Alan said the reason he came back in the house was because the neighbor heard gunshots. What shots and why, you ask? The same ones that killed him, Alan. So with Ruth in prison in the constant loop, maybe she can save Alan and the kid on the next time she has the experience of what happened. What do you think? Could Castle Rock have a bittersweet end?
Well, yes, that's a possibility.
I was thinking that too, right? You know, it's the gunshots at the house thing, and just like how we didn't revisit her suicide attempt, we never really came back to an explanation for the gunshots, and so that seems possible. Someone else suggested the possibility that she's, been through this timeline more than once. Or that she's reorganized her sense of time in such a way with the pieces that sort of keeps Alan in the present. And so perhaps that experience is not so much a real one as like a sort of emerging one in her psyche. Viago writes, I think you guys missed something somewhat interesting a couple episodes back. The camera pans past the TV into the dining room where Ruth and Alan are sitting, but what's playing on the TV is interesting. It's an episode of The Twilight Zone entitled The Howling Man, in which a drifter has taken refuge in a monastery during a storm where he hears a howling man from a prison cell. Feeling sympathetic, the drifter sets him free, only to find out that he was actually the devil himself and continues to wreak havoc on the world. I'd say that that's definitely an on-purpose reference.
Yeah.
And it's a good catch.
Yeah, it is. I like it. And again, we could be looking at Henry this whole time too. He could actually be the devil. I don't know if we're gonna get a scene where Henry's like, it was me the whole time, or just
oh no.
It's just, I think it's a curse. Something's happening here. Some like Leland Gaunt, again, every day Leland's he's fading away. I understand that, but I still feel like there's some kind of something.
So Leland Gaunt is still sort of the euphemism for I have no freaking clue what's going on right now.
Yes. Hey!
Jessica writes, the song Blue Moon, although a different version in the movie, is from the early 90s Stephen King movie Sleepwalkers. There's even a creepy slow dance scene in the movie where the song plays. Love seeing that reference, the episode was amazing. That's actually a really good catch of how this show has been using the sort of full like media history of Stephen King. And it's not just the novels, it's the movies, it's the TV shows, and it's very aware of those things as being actually like dear to Stephen King fans and just movie and horror fans in general. Like you could barely grow up in the United States at least and not
see at least one Stephen King
multiple
adaptation.
Stephen King adaptations, and sometimes maybe not even know it. And Sleepwalkers is just a great obscure one.
Just look at his shirt! My mother's gonna kill me!
Okay, everyone, that's it for us over here. We'll see you all back here next week for episode 9.
And if you noticed anything in the episode that we might have missed, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your theories. I love reading the comments every week. There are always some really awesome ideas. And don't forget, you can hit us up on Twitter. Our handles are in the description.
Bye-bye.